Hi, crafties, and welcome to Weekend Crafting Adventures. I'm Kim. In this crafting project, I am going to be making some knitted wire wall decor. Let me tell you a little bit about the inspiration behind this crafting project. We are doing some spring cleaning and sprucing up in my classroom, and we are actually adding 3 new team members. And so we are doing a lot of rearranging, a lot of, like I said, spring cleaning, and we're really putting together a beautiful little classroom work area for not only my team, but also the children that come to my classroom. And so one of the things that my team and I have been talking about is the infinity symbol that represents neurodiversity and autism, and making that shift away from the puzzle pieces to that infinity symbol that actually really more represents a lot wider range of people that are neurodiverse. And so within that infinity symbol, there are a couple of keywords that are used with this symbol. One is acceptance, one is embrace, one is love, and one is celebrate. And so it got me thinking about some different ways that I want to decorate and have some just different kinds of wall decor in my classroom. Specifically more around my desk area and my teammates' desk area. And so I was looking through Instagram and social media, and I came across this reel by Isla Sierra, and she does these knitted wire wall decor. And it is awesome. She is amazing at it. Once again, she makes something that is not easy look really easy, but it got me thinking about different ways that I could be decorating and just having inspiration at work, celebrating the autistic preschoolers that I teach. So with that idea of the knitted wall decor and the infinity symbol for neurodiversity, I decided that that is what I was going to be crafting and putting together for some of the area around my desk and the wall space in the classroom. And I'm so excited about this project. I actually am going to be doing this project in 2 parts. So the first part that I'm going to be sharing with you today is going to be about the wire art and bending that wire, creating the words and the shapes that I'm going to have on the classroom wall. And then the second part, which I will finish next weekend and I will share with you on my next podcast, will be the crafting and knitting the I-cord with the tulip I-cord knitting machine to cover that wire wall decor that's going to go into my classroom. So for part 1 of this crafting project, I did use my Cricut machine just for a small part in this entire crafting project. And I did use my Cricut Maker to create some simple templates with cardstock paper that I'm going to be using to help me shape and bend the craft wire that I'm going to be using for my words and my shapes. just little cardstock templates. So really, I didn't use my Cricut a lot for this crafting project, but it did come in really, really handy in terms of creating those shapes with the cardstock paper. I did want to highlight a couple of other materials that I used that I did not have in my crafting corner for the bending and creating the wire words and shapes. I did need to purchase some craft wire that was 3 millimeters, and the one that I bought came in a big roll, and it was about 52 feet, I believe. And because I'm going to be making 4 words, the infinity symbol, and at least 1 or 2 hearts, I did think that that size and that roll would be enough for my project. So I did need to buy that craft wire. And the other thing that I did need to buy, which brings up the resource that I really relied on the most for the entire project, start to finish. I'm not done yet, but for this project was Isla Sierra. She is on Instagram. I believe she's on TikTok, and she has an Etsy store. And after watching the reels that inspired me to create this wall decor for my classroom, I started digging a little deeper into her resources, and she has an incredible resource for letter templates, specifically for the wire art. And I kind of went back and forth about whether or not I wanted to purchase the templates, and I did. They are $12 on Etsy, and it's a little more than I typically would buy for templates, but these are amazing. If you are going to be trying the wire bending and wire art using letters, making words, I highly recommend Isla Sierra's letter templates. They're amazing. Because this was my first time getting into this craft and I really want it to look nice for my classroom, I didn't want to wing it with the letters. I really wanted to make sure that I knew it was going to be hard in the first place to get the wire to be bent into the letters. So I just wanted to give myself a little bit of an advantage, hopefully something that would make me a bit more successful the first or second time that I was trying this craft. And so that was definitely one of the materials that I relied on so much for the words that I was making. And that is one of the other materials that I did purchase that I did not have in my crafting corner. So I think what I'm going to do is put all of the materials for both part 1 and part 2 in both blogs. That way, if you do decide that you're interested or want to try the knitted wire art wall decor, all of the materials will be in there with the resources. I just am only going to be sharing my part 1 about the wire in this podcast and for this crafting project, and then the knitting part in part 2. So those were the extra materials along with cardstock that I used for the templates. And I did use some pliers that I had and some wire cutters that I had for the bending of the wire. So let me talk about the experience of doing this crafting project, bending this wire. I actually was really surprised at how easy it was to bend the craft wire, but that also really led me into a couple of situations where my wire got some bumps or little kind of waves in it where I didn't really want it to. But let me start with the templates that I made with my Cricut, because I did decide to start with shapes. I figured doing the infinity symbol and the heart shapes first would kind of get me warmed up to move into the letters and words that I was creating. So making my templates with my Cricut Maker with the cardstock was super easy. This is nothing new in terms of the Cricut machine, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. I will, however, say that having the templates for the shapes made my first attempt at creating the heart and the infinity symbol really a lot smoother than I think it would have gone if I just tried to freehand it. So those templates are key in terms of doing the metal wire bending, creating different things with the wire. I did use my pliers to kind of close off the ends of the wire. And with that being said, I did leave some of the edges of the wire just raw because I am going to be covering my wire with the knitted I cords that I'm going to be creating for the second part of this project. So the heart, the infinity symbol, those were really pretty straightforward. I just took my wire and traced along the outside of my templates to create the shapes. So that gave me a little bit of experience with the wire. And then I jumped into creating the words. And I decided to use the letter templates just one letter at a time. The instructions with the templates do give a suggestion of tracing your entire word onto a big piece of paper and then bending your wire. But I just chose to use each letter template is basically one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, just a standard printing piece of paper. So I printed all of those out to have right in front of me as I was creating my words. So like I said, just took for the word love. This is what I started with. It's a short word. I wanted to get a little practice. So I took the L, the O, the V, and the E. I started with the uppercase, and the way that she has her letter templates, they're beautiful. They're like a cursive kind of letter, but they're very easy to read. And I really wanted that to be the look in the classroom. So I started with the uppercase L, and really her templates are amazing. They tell you exactly what direction to bring your wire, when you need to bend it forward or backwards, what kind of bend you want to put onto it. And then it always leads into the next letter. So I tried the word love and it went pretty well. This is not easy, but it is not extremely challenging. I feel like the more and more I do it, I'm going to get better and better at it. But the biggest obstacles that I ran into with the actual wire bending, two things I ran into. One, I talked about it briefly before. It is not hard to get little bumps or kind of waves in the wire where you don't want them. I found that because I am not, I'm new at this, I'm trying to figure out the best way to bend the wire. And there were times where I bent it a little too far, or I didn't round it in exactly the way that it looked on the template. So when I went to try and fix those bends, I got like a little bit of wobble or wave in the wire that was pretty challenging to straighten out. So that was one thing that I came across. And the other thing that was a little bit challenging with my longer words. For instance, acceptance, that's a pretty long word. And I really needed to make sure as I was working through each letter that I kept it going straight across. Isla Sierra suggests she actually uses a Cricut cutting mat to lay her wire on as she's creating the letters. She doesn't use her templates. She's really good at it, but she does use it to make sure that her letters are the same size and that they're going straight across. And I think that that's a really great idea. I was using the templates, so I just kind of kept lining my letters up and checking that they were pretty straight. Overall, the words came out pretty great. They're not perfect. There are some bumps and waves in the wire, and I think that's to be expected because it's the first time I've tried it. But I figure when I add on the knitted I-cord, that's going to give me a little bit of coverage over those areas. And so overall, I feel like it went really well, the wire piece, and I'm super excited to add on the colorful yarn that I'm going to be making into I-cord for the project. I'm going to do some bright rainbow variegated colored yarn for the infinity symbol. And then I'm toying with a couple different colors for the words. I'm thinking maybe a deep teal or deep red. I'm not sure. And then for the heart, I think I'm going to do some red around that. But that could change between now and next weekend when I'm actually putting the entire thing together. So let me tell you my crafting keepers for this first part of the project are the letter templates that I bought from Isla Sierra Co. on Etsy. I really think I would have been super frustrated and I never would have been able to get my words done in the weekend if I did not have those letter templates. I will be using them again as I continue to work on this craft and learn more about it. But those letter templates are definitely a crafting keeper. And my second crafting keeper for this episode is just going to be that simple way of making a template with cardstock with my Cricut Maker. I knew I didn't want to freehand the shapes, so I just went into Cricut Design Space. They actually had the infinity symbol in Cricut Design Space, so I brought that right up onto my canvas. And of course, they have tons of shapes that are hearts. I had my Cricut cut those out of cardstock, and those really gave me a great guide for bending the wire for my shapes. So my Satiscrafttion rating for part 1 of the knitted wire wall decor project is going to be a 4. It was really fun to work with wire, and I'm going to be honest, it was kind of nice to do something a little different than an entire project that use the Cricut a ton. So this was really fun. I am not giving it a 5 because of the little challenges that I came across as I'm learning how to bend the wire, which way to go, how to kind of correct any of those mistakes that I make when I go along. I'm still learning, and my wire certainly is not perfect. So I'm going to keep it at a 4. But I am looking forward to knitting the I cords with my little tulip I cord machine and creating some really fun, bright, beautiful colors to put on top of the wire and bring it into my classroom. Until our next adventure, take care.
That's all for this episode of Weekend Crafting Adventures. Now go get that Cricut machine off the shelf and get crafty. For more information on this crafting project, interesting tips, tricks, and techniques, visit WCApodcast.com. Until next time, when we embark on another adventure.